My name is Danielle Tierney. My mom had me when she was 19 years old. She was in the military and single. From the time I was born, there was no knowledge of who my biological father was. Shortly after I was born, maybe about one, she remarried to a man in the military and they had a baby. So I had a brother now and my first stepfather. Unfortunately, they were not married very long. He really struggled with anger and he was physically abusive and he was an alcoholic. So when they got divorced, my mom sent my brother and I to California to live with my aunt for a little bit. While I was there, my older cousin abused me, and just being with my cousins was really traumatic. They were really mean to me. They commented about my looks and that I just wasn't in their family. It was very traumatic. I remember being very angry as a child. I wasn't very nice. I was like an outcast. I was very alone. I was close with my brother, but I was still very lonely. When I was 12, my grandmother, she ended up started going to church and gave her life to Jesus, and she invited us. And my mom decided to go and gave her life to Jesus too. And that's when things just started to change. I saw a complete a newness in my mom, and we were going to church. I just remember it being a very just positive time in our life. And she ended up meeting a man there and she got married. I just always wanted a family and now we had that family and it was a lot of fun. But we realized pretty quickly that he's also struggled with anger. He was really kind and loving at church, but at home he was really explosive. We always felt like we were on eggshells. We just never knew kind of what we were going to get. And as a new believer, that was hard for me. Just seeing, I was reading my Bible, but then seeing him act a certain way, and it was really hard on my mom and myself because we got the most of his anger. It was just really up and down. So I started to party, living in California, LA being very close, Las Vegas. It was very, very easy to just go out and hang out with celebrities, and I just kind of really indulged in the nightlife. Even though I was out partying, I still was going to church, and I just knew like this wasn't the life I wanted. I wanted something more. So I still pursued my education, and at this time I was still communicating with my first stepdad. He was always very loving to me. He considered me his daughter, and we would see him off and on. I decided to take a trip to Florida to visit my stepdad, and at the time my mom was like, hey, you should go visit my friend Kathleen. I'm in Florida. I go visit my mom's friend Kathleen and her 2 children, and in walks Alec, which is her son, and I remember looking at him and looking in his eyes, and I just knew like that he was it. And we started dating pretty quickly after that. We got engaged 6 months later. We were married a year later, and I moved to Florida. About a year into our marriage, we started coming to Bow Down. So coming to Bow Down and hearing about inner healing, I was really intrigued. So I signed up. I knew that even though I was a believer, there was a lot of broken pieces, and I just wanted to be whole. So I started going to inner healing, and God just began to heal me of a lot of the wounding that I had growing up. In 2014, my first stepfather, whom I was very close to, he died. A week later, my maternal grandmother died. And at the same time, my mom informed me that my second stepdad and her were getting a divorce. It was just a lot of loss at one time. I just remember I spiraled into this really, really deep depression. A few months later, I found out I was pregnant with my first child, Nathan, whose name actually means gift. And that was such a blessing for us, coming out of such a tremendous loss in darkness. Something just inside of me just all of a sudden longed to know who my biological father was. It never bothered me that I didn't know him, but now all of a sudden I just had this longing for my father. I got on Ancestry.com, and for about 2 years, nothing. But I just remember being so consumed with it. I was like, I just want to know who my father is. And it was a lot, but during this time, the Lord was just really drawing me in to know him, to himself. And I just began to know God in different ways. And then when I was 30, I think I was on my 30th on my 35th birthday, the Lord had told me that He redeemed my birth and He delivered me from the orphan spirit. And I was able to see that that's what I had been walking in all of my life. I knew that I was God's daughter and He loved me. Before that, it was very easy for me to say Jesus was my Savior, but God is my Father, I didn't really know God as my Father. So He just started just untangling this ball of just knots that were inside of me, and He was freeing me from so much. And I would say about 4 years into the ancestry search, still not really many leads, but I just come to this place where I was like, God is my Father. He's shown me I am His. I have His name. His blood runs through my veins. I'm His daughter, and I just felt so free. Well, a little bit later, I got a match on Ancestry. It was a cousin. It was a first cousin. So immediately I go to message. I'm like, hey, I see you're a match. I'm looking for my dad. Like, can you help me? And she goes, sure. So we began a relationship on the phone. We just started talking, and we really enjoyed each other. She became my friend, and it was really cool just actually having like someone in my family that I was close to. April 11, 2020, she calls me and says, check your ancestry, we got a match. And so she had narrowed it down to 3 men, and we got a match from the 3. September of that year, we go to Arizona. We go and I get to meet my biological father. He didn't know about me, but he was happy to meet me. I got to meet all of my extended family, my uncles, my cousins, my grandmother. I got to have a relationship with her before she passed, and it was just something that only God could have done. So not only did He just bring me through so much, but revealed Himself to me as my Father, but He gave me the desire of my heart to know who my biological father was. Before Christ, I was broken. God took those broken pieces and He made them a masterpiece in a way that I never could imagine. Just restored me, redeemed my family line, and I would have never thought I would have had the life that I have now. So because of Christ, I have it all.